What up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. Tonight ain't about rumors and it's not about headlines. Tonight is about what happens when power never gets checked. This ain't a fall from grace story because grace suggests he never slowed down. This is about a run that got so long people stopped believing the end was real. And of course, I'm talking about the Netflix documentary on Sean Diddy Combs. The documentary doesn't start with the arrest. It starts with the control. Control over rooms, control over people, control over money, control over silence. What hit me first wasn't the allegations. It was how normal everybody made the fear sound. Not shocked, not stunned, just used to it. The footage of him talking to his lawyers before his arrest wasn't courage. That was panic trying to sound like power. He said, "We're losing," and you could hear it in his voice. Not losing a case, losing control.
Series contains never-before-seen footage of Combs debating strategy with his lawyers in the days leading up to his arrest in New York last year.
I am going to let you professionals look at the situation and come back to me with a solution.
It also includes video of Combs greeting fans in Harlem.
Off my back, bro. Lord, you win. I'm gonna win. Lord, you win. We win it. I'll accept it.
And then saying this about the interaction moments later.
I need some hand sanitizer. Hold on. I got it.
I've been out in the streets amongst the people. Yeah, I gotta take a bath. Like the amount of people that actually I'm coming in contact with, like that's what I have to do.
This man built an empire off of his image. When that image cracked, everything under it started moving. People think power is loud. Real power is quiet and it's everywhere. The doc keeps coming back to the same thing. Fear was the fuel, not talent, not vision, fear. People didn't move because they believed in him. They moved because they were scared to stop. When you watch that staff talk, you can see it in their eyes. They ain't relieved. They still checking the room like he could pop up any moment. That's the part that hit me. Prison didn't end the fear, it just moved it. The Biggie section was dog. But it wasn't surprising. When ego meets street politics, somebody always pays in blood. The doc says he was jealous of his own artist. That's a different kind of sick. Imagine being mad that the star shines brighter than you when you the one who put him there. And then we get to the funeral. The biggest show of love ever seen. Paid for by the dead. That part ain't getting enough attention. Buried people can't protest receipts. The jury part messed me up in a different way. Not because they didn't see evil, but because evil didn't fit the charges. They saw the footage, they saw the bruises, but the law is not built to punish everything that's wrong. Only everything that's provable. That's a cold reality. A lot of monsters hide in that gap. The Cassie footage was unforgivable, but unforgivable is not a conviction. That's the part people don't want to accept. Justice and courtrooms are not the same thing. R.I.Ch's story hit me different because confusion is its own kind of trauma.
One of those interviews is with Danity Kane singer R.I.Ch, who in an emotional scene reads an affidavit from a woman saying she walked in on O'Day being assaulted by Combs and another man in 2005.
You realize the burden that puts on my soul for the past year, the weight of that man and his I will never get up from under it.
When somebody says, "I don't even know if it happened," that's a broken sentence and a broken soul. She ain't talking about fame, she talking about survival. Every woman in this doc sounded tired, not angry and not vindictive. Tired. Tired of not being believed. Tired of being doubted. Tired of having to sound perfect just to feel credible. What this doc really exposes is not just one man. It exposes the system that kept him protected. Nobody moves like that alone. You need doors open, eyes closed, and questions never asked. This ain't just a Diddy story. This is a music industry story. This is a fame story. This is a money story. This is a look the other way story. Now listen, this is where the story stops being legend and starts being liability. That hotel footage ain't a movie scene. That's real-time damage. No music, no editing tricks. Just power with no audience left to impress. When he put his hands on Cassie, the empire started crumbling. Everything after that has been an echo. The jury said unforgivable, but the punishment did not match the crime. And that's where a lot of people lost faith in this process. Not faith in right and wrong, faith in how right and wrong get measured. The FO testimony was disturbing, but disturbing ain't always enough. The law needs structure, even when the story has none. That's a hard pill for the public to swallow because morality don't move on statutes. Cassie stand with him confused people, but abuse doesn't end just because love stays there. Control doesn't always look like chains. Sometimes it looks like hope. The juror said the relationship was complicated. Complicated is what power calls itself when it don't want to say unbalanced. The Biggie piece comes back around here for a reason. Death has been orbiting this story the whole time. When you mix industry, street politics, and ego, somebody always gets buried.
The docuseries also re-examines the murders of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G. in the 90s, raising questions about what Combs knew. Combs has denied all allegations and has never been charged in either death.
You don't have Puff Daddy without Biggie Smalls.
And somebody always gets richer after that. Charging the funeral back to the dead was not a business move. That was a reveal. That showed how far the line had moved from human to asset. The doc keeps pointing to one thing over and over. He thought he was too big to fall. Not too smart, not too careful. Too big. The attempted $200 million wire transfer before his arrest was not love. That was panic packed in a wire. When money start running before you do, you already know the end. You just ain't ready to say it out loud. The lawyers didn't sound confident. They sounded managed. And this is where the power shifted. From command to damage control. This ain't about charges no more. This is about patterns. This is about years of nobody saying no until the no came back with handcuffs. Every accuser sounds different, but the fear sounds the same. The system didn't create him, but it sure as hell let him run laps. And now the same industry that clapped for him is quiet. Real quiet. Ain't no defense rolling in like it used to, and ain't no legends lining up to vouch. Because power is loud until it ain't, and then it vanishes. This was never just about one woman. This was about a man who never had to stop until he had no more room to move. Now listen, every accusation hit different, but they all pointed the same direction, toward a man who never thought the door would swing back towards him. The industry knew how to whisper, it just never knew how to stop clapping. Every time somebody almost spoke up, a check showed up first, and silence went back on the payroll. This is how evil gets old. It gets fed. People keep asking why nobody stopped him, but the real question is how many people made sure he was never challenged.
I began to see the ugliness and the nature of him as a human being. That came from me seeing the only thing he cared about was himself.
Power don't always wear a mask. Sometimes it wears applause. The doc didn't just show a monster. It showed a system that kept the door locked from the inside. He didn't move alone. He moved surrounded. Surrounded by lawyers. Surrounded by money. Surrounded by people who needed him to win so they could eat. That's the part people don't want to sit with. Some people didn't ignore the fire. They was warming their hands from it. And now everybody acting surprised by the smoke. Like they don't smell it in their own clothes. This ain't a story about just one man's fall. This is about who profits when nobody falls fast enough. Some people lost their voice and some people lost their peace. Some people lost their youth trying to survive an empire that never loved nobody back. The guilt didn't end with the gavel. It lives in the rooms that are still quiet. Every survivor got a timeline and it don't move at the speed of the internet. The world wants a clean ending, but real life don't do credit rolls. This story is gonna keep breathing after this documentary, just not in the same shadows. Because once the light hit it, it can't unsee itself. And neither can we. This ain't about canceling a legend. This is about finally hearing the people who never got a microphone. This is about believing that the silence was screaming this whole time. We all just chose not to listen. Sean Combs built an empire, but an empire is not a shield. Time don't care about status, and truth don't care about hit records. Now listen, some people gonna walk away angry, some people gonna walk away quiet, but ain't nobody walking away unaffected. Not after this. Power ain't the problem. Power with no checks is. Fame ain't the curse, silence is. And the most dangerous room in the industry is not the studio. It's the room where everybody knows and nobody is saying nothing. Look, this conversation ain't comfortable. It's not supposed to be. Growth don't come from applause. It comes from looking straight at what we helped ignore. If this made you uncomfortable, good. That mean it landed where it was supposed to. If this made you angry, sit with that. Anger always knows where the truth is hiding. This ain't about picking sides. It's about picking standards. And standards don't move based on who the star is. Legacy ain't what you build in the light. It's what survives you after the light is shut off. Look, this is not television. This is real life with real consequences. And every time we choose comfort over truth, somebody pays for it later. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe, establish rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.